Well, this is Dateline News and Conversation. It's Saturday, May 16th, coming to you live tonight from Yalta in the Crimea of the Russian Federation. My guest tonight is a good friend. He's been on many times before. This is what we're going to talk about tonight. Slovenia. What is the political situation like in Slovenia? We're going to ask and we're going to find out whether there is a lot of Russophobia in Slovenia or whether they're a country somewhat friendly to Russia. We're going to talk about Slovenia's position on Ukraine. As many of you know, many of the European countries have been sending billions of euros to Ukraine over the last 5 years. And then we're going to talk about Donald Trump's trip to Beijing and what it looked like from Slovenia. And then if we get a chance, we're going to talk about something that Blaz and I have talked about many times before, the UN Agenda 2030. I think all of these things are connected. So I want to welcome back to the show my good friend, Blaz Kavcic. Blaz, welcome back.
Hello, Regis. Nice to see you. What's up? Как дела?
Yeah, what's up? You seem to be in a good spirits.
Well,
given everything that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
You know, we had a beautiful day here in Crimea. The first really good day, like summer, we've had this year. Temperature was close to, I think, 19 or 20 centigrade. I got a little sunburn on my face, and I spent the day with an American friend who has been living in Thailand for many, many years, and he's on his fourth visit to Russia and the Crimea. So we were out in the sun most of the day today, and so anyway, that was my day so far. So, Blaz, I've been talking with people from the European Union, and I've been asking them about the position of their countries vis-a-vis Ukraine. But before we go there, I want to know what the political situation is like in Slovenia. Is there unrest? Are the people there unhappy with Brussels? Because we're beginning to see some division in the EU, also in NATO. So please share with me and our viewers what is going on politically in your country.
Okay. Well, first, temperatures here in Slovenia are record low. In decades, we have not had such a cold May. They are approaching zero at night, but now it's getting slightly higher. Anyway, it's unusually bad weather. Also can be very negative for agriculture. And it's just one question for the general audience: is weather militarily manipulated or is it natural? This is one of the questions which are which are around.
Now, Blaz, let me jump in. I want to stop right there because we hadn't talked about the weather. But as I shared what's happening in Crimea, and I can't talk about the rest of Russia, but I know it's been crazy in Moscow. They had snow a couple of days ago, and then they hit plus 20. Here in Crimea, it's been the most unusual winter and spring. We've had so much rain. The temperatures Blush, it's really crazy. For one day, it might be almost down around freezing, +2, +1, and a couple days later, it would be +15. And I am confident, and I believe for a long time, that the weather is being manipulated, even weaponized. There's a lot of information out there about that in terms of what the United States has been doing to weaponize the weather for 70 years at least. Tell me what your thoughts are and what, because I really believe this is not normal what's happening. And I'd like to know what your perspective is. Then we can go on to the political climate in Slovenia and the other questions. So talk to me about what you think is happening with the weather.
Well, weather and environmental questions are one of the areas where we can measure the level of our sanity. Because if you look in the sky and if you don't see the chemical trails and spraying performed upon us, then of course you are going around the world with your eyes wide shut. Anyway, I wrote already in my book years ago, some 3 years ago, that weather is manipulated. It's there is no hard evidence of the systemic temperature rise, but yes, some glaciers have melted down. Also, the one in Slovenia. There are some reports that they are getting iced back, some of them, but it's not so important. The important question about the weather is, do we believe in premise of Agenda 2030, which we will probably touch a little bit later on, as you announced? Do we believe in weather definition and relations between carbon dioxide and temperature as it has been until recently preached by the globalist documents, Agenda 2030, and so on? So commonsensical response is, of course, weather is negatively militarily manipulated against the interest of the people and agriculture and our health. And this is one of the indicators of how the global elites look upon the population and the nature of the world. This would be in short. We can also discuss more in detail. But if it's okay, let me shortly answer to the rest of your question. I'm okay. All things considered, many things are okay here in Slovenia for most of the people, most of the time. Life for the most of the people is today, objectively speaking, much more comfortable than during the years of my youth. I'm speaking here in Slovenia and neighboring Austria, Italy, Hungary, Croatia, are not exposed to extreme violence as many people around the world are. We can afford a lot of things, including entertainment, sports, recreation, travel. I have my grandchildren attending schools from primary school to faculties, and so far they have very demanding education. They are learning a lot. They know a lot. What is not there is critical thinking about what is going on generally in a society. Where are we headed? Where our societies are headed? Even their teachers, they don't have a clue. Most of them, of the teachers, educators, are well qualified within specific fields of knowledge. But there is, like all over the world, I suppose, a chronic lack of context and understanding of the social megatrends. People are out there for achievements. We have top Slovenian scientists, young knowledge, achievements, Olympic champions, CERN physicists, top musicians, best cyclists, basketball players. A lot of people are running, practicing yoga, engaged in personal development programs. But when I ask the question, do we have a problem, or we can just optimistically carry on? Well, then I lose any sympathy. People do perceive problems. People do get critical, but only within clearly delimited fields. They protest about high prices and low salaries. They protest about inflation and corruption, but they aggressively resist connecting the dots. A proposal to systematically follow the sequence of causes and consequences gets rejected fiercely, often with disdain and hatred. Do we have just partial short-term problems that can be and will be changed and ameliorated by electing better politicians? Or we have an existential problem, a problem that cannot be solved within the system that has created the problems we are in? Are the existing controlling powers systematically and systemically poisoning, robbing, and killing us, the people? Or such a statement is an exaggeration or outright false? Maybe a short disclaimer, a warning about my radical stance. You know me, Regis, we have done hours of in-depth discussions on your podcast. You probably perceive me as a well-meaning person, and I hope I am. Personally, I do not perceive my thinking platform as a radical one, more a common sense one, but it is built upon decades of practical work in business and politics and some sound theoretical base. So this would be general situation in Slovenia. Maybe let me illustrate a little bit because you have also put this question regarding the relation towards Ukraine. Well, Slovenia is not very exposed in this regard. There are some Russian and Ukrainian people living here. Some, and I meet a number of them. They are hardworking, good people. We have some real estate speculators, mainly Russian ones. We perceive no tensions among them or with the Slovenian people. This is on the people's level. Then political leadership, as explained, is fully on board with the super-fascist European Union. I have already in 2022 publicly explained that we have entered financing of the war against Russia in Ukraine, unwillingly, unwittingly, and until now, this problem has not received the necessary attention by the public in Slovenia.
I was taking some notes.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the weather. I was very involved when I was back in the United States. Now, I've been living here in Crimea for 7 years, But I was very involved, and and for many, many years, because I was involved in activism, anti-war, anti-U.S. imperialism. I've been following what a number of programs by the CIA, the State Department, the War Department, as it's called now. And I befriended a man in California. His name was Dane Wigington. And he has a website called Geoengineering Watch. He probably more than anybody in the United States, maybe anybody in the world, has been documenting weather modifications and the weaponization of weather. For many years, he was exposing the use of chemtrails all across the United States. And I've traveled from East Coast to West Coast and back. I've lived in both parts of the country. And the most recent time in Maine, we would observe on a daily basis chemtrails. And people were arguing, well, those aren't chemtrails. It's evaporation with the jets that are flying over. That was all disproved as false. They've been spraying chemicals across the United States. Dane has done scientific research on how these chemtrails are destroying forestry across the country, but in his region in Northern California. He talked about the extreme and documented weather patterns the last few years in the United States. There's no denying that this is not natural. He talked about the snow that's been happening, major snows in parts of the country that are not real snow. It's not ice and water. And I forget what he calls it, but it's chemicals. And it's really destroying the environment. Now, since I've been here in Crimea, I can say that I have never seen a chemtrail. I know what they are. But only one time when I was in the southern part of Russia, out of Crimea, did I see chemtrails, without a doubt. So I don't know how much Russia might be participating in the use of chemtrails, chemical spraying across the country. I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence of that. The only thing I have seen evidence of is in the 7 years that I've been here, I have seen, and I don't document this day by day, and I'm not a scientist, but the weather has changed in the last couple of years. The amount of snow that we got in the last couple of years was more than we got in my earlier years here. The amount of rain we've had this year, all winter, and even into the spring, the reservoirs are full. Last summer, the reservoirs were maybe at half. And we just took a trip to Simferopol. There's a huge reservoir. It was filled to the top because of all the rain, the snow that came in the mountains. And this was just not normal. So that's my personal experience here, my personal observations. But in terms of what I'm seeing as weather patterns in the United States, North America, and in other parts of, well, let's say the Northern Hemisphere, there is no doubt that really strange things are happening. I don't know whether you want to comment further on that before we go into what we're talking about with Agenda 2030 and, what's going on in Slovenia in terms of the European Union. But do you want to comment further on the weather?
Well, maybe just shortly, because we are also reporting on the work of Dane Wigington. We appreciate his work, and I have published a number of articles here in Slovenia, also using this documentation. We have a special website where we report on on the happenings, events on the sky, but people are avoiding it. There is no politician in Slovenia that would touch this question with a 10-foot pole. So I would just conclude this debate by saying that everything that's going on in the world today is global. So it's part of a global plans. I have written already in 21. I was denounced as a former politician, and now claiming that Slovenia is exposed to hybrid war. And I warned there 5 years back that it was immediately after the start of Corona project that the hybrid war is being perpetrated against the people of the world, against the nature. And this hybrid means kinetic, chemical, physical, psychological, and this manipulations of weather are part of this global war against humanity. Maybe just to complete your initial questions with the Slovenian situation and connecting it to European Union, I have followed your conversations with interlocutors from Armenia, Ireland, comprehensive international analysis with John Helmer, Dimitri Laskaris, Edward Curtin, and I can only recommend to everybody to watch those discussions. Let me contribute maybe some complementary views to complete this answers questions of elections in various countries. We have also had parliamentary elections in Slovenia recently, which might be interesting for our reviewers. A short analysis of it. The negotiations on the prime minister position and structure of government are ongoing. One of the surprises which is worth analyzing was first-time success of the party Resnica, the truth, would be the English translation. It is interesting to go briefly through the program of this party, which brought her surprising success, entering the parliament for the first time. Their program is strong sovereignty. Slovenia must decide on key issues itself, they wrote, not Brussels or Washington. They are critical of European Union. They demand a referendum on exiting NATO. They advocate strategic neutrality and opening cooperation with everyone, including Russia and China. Then they attack corruption. They would change the regulation in the area of taxes and economy. They are in favor of lower taxes. They would reduce public debt, and they would reduce, they demand a balanced budget. They were critical of COVID-19 and measures, the harshest critics of measures in Slovenia. They opposed lockdowns, mandatory vaccination, and COVID passports in the past. They oppose illegal migration and multiculturalism, and they oppose woke ideology and excessive political correctness. So I have presented this program in detail to show how good narratives are used by fraudulent sellouts to win the elections and then start following orders from the power networks. This is exactly what happened in Slovenia. Leader of the Alternative Party became Speaker of the First Chamber, the second highest politician in Slovenia, only below the President of the Republic. The guy is Stevanovic, a policeman by basic education, dishonestly discharged from service, later worked in security, finished some business school. Serbian alternative media reported that Serbian organized crime helped finance his campaign. This is to illustrate how the system works. So my answer to the question, whom to vote, is radical boycott of elections. And this is very negatively accepted by most of the people I give this answer to. Why am I proposing this take? Only if there emerges some movement with comprehensive program for defense and liberation of the nation, there might be an exception. Otherwise, as I write in my book, we should be aware that political parties have developed into mechanisms working for the power elite. So even theoretically, it is not possible to change things for the better with the help of different electoral results.
Wow. That was very interesting to hear your views on what's happening politically in Slovenia, how elections are being used by the power elite. It's the same thing in the United States, the same thing all across the EU, Brussels, rigging elections, whether it be Hungary, Bulgaria, attempting to rig elections, Bulgaria, Moldova, Armenia. It's going on extraordinarily heavily in Armenia. They have elections coming up in September. And so I really appreciate your analysis. And, you know, you and I have continued, and not many people go there. It's not the elected politicians. I said in a Zoom conference with some friends in the United States, I cannot understand why the majority of American people still think that an election is going to change anything. For example, right now with Donald Trump, people are saying there's elections, midterm coming up in November. The Republican Party is going to lose heavily, and it might, the United States Senate and Congress might turn completely blue, Democrat. And then Trump will be impeached and thrown out of office. And then they're waiting for 4 more years for another election. This has been, I stopped voting, Blush. The last time I voted was for Barack Obama. Oh, hope you can believe in. And as soon as he was elected, he betrayed everything that he said he stood for. He entered into 7 wars. On Tuesdays, he had a meeting where he would decide who was going to be extrajudicially murdered in some part of the world. And he said he enjoyed it. And I was so disgusted with that because I fell for it. But prior to that, I didn't vote in several elections because I didn't belong to any political party. I thought the whole system was corrupt. And I like the way you use the term power elites. And people today are talking about the neocons in Washington. They're in charge. They're talking about Ursula von der Leyen, who's in charge. These people are not in charge. And I'm going to want, you can disagree with me. I don't think you will. They are merely puppets. They're stage managers. I think they're actually evil people, but they are doing the work, in my opinion, to use the term you use, the power elites. And maybe you and I might dare to go there and identify who these creeps are, because they have names, they have positions, they live in different countries. But first of all, your response to what's going on around the world, really, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, in Europe, the United States, and some other countries in Eurasia. What are your thoughts in terms of what I just said?
Yeah, I agree with everything you have said. I would just maybe comment on or try to add on something on what we hear from world-class commentators, which some of them also appear on your channel. I think we have to add one level of power that is not discussed enough. These situations like conflicts, war situations, conflicts in Palestine, in Ukraine, in Iran, they are too much presented as conflicts between nations, which they are not. They are part of the global game. And above the level of the politicians we see on the open stage is the level of power with the continuity of some 1,700 years. These structures have been evolving and improving, and they are very diversified. It's not one commander, but the people we see, they are just actors, like now you were asking about the visit of Trump in China and Xi Jinping and so on. There is power networks around them, and then the master plan of the world travel is pretty much consistent with Agenda 2030, and all the world leaders from China, Russia, United States, European Union, Iran even, and so on, also warring sides among themselves, they all accept Agenda 2030 as a framework of development. And this is missing from the commentaries of the most influential commentators. I often hear statements like, Europe, what does Europe think? What will Europe do? Well, there is no identity to be connected with Europe. There is just an office in Brussels, corrupt office, super fascist office of Ursula von der Leyen, which is executing the orders she receives from the global power network. I usually use the term general global coordination. Some people use term cabal, some people use term criminal class or parasite class, or it's all pretty much the same thing. And what we should be aware is that they would like to push us into one of the rabbit holes. You have Chabad Lubavitch, and some people now present as Chabad Lubavitch is controlling the whole world, which is better than believing that Israel is controlling the United States, or vice versa, believing that United States are controlling Israel. None of that is true, or it is true to some extent. But the main power of coordination is above them. So Netanyahu and Donald Trump, none of them are the real boss. None of them are the visionaries. None of them are really the statesmen that we used to have in history. They are just actors, not bad ones. I mean, they are very useful, extremely useful, because Trump or Netanyahu, they are able to do anything, and they will do anything to remain where they are. But they are not the real architects of the events. So they have their handlers around them. And a similar situation is in China. China has also power networks. And Jeffrey Epstein has been an expert on how to establish a controlling influence in China. For instance, it has been documented. He was consulting Morgan Stanley in what to do to persuade Chinese important people. And it was not money. He said, no, money is not the instrument. This primitive corruption is not working in China. But they've used very, very complex mechanisms, which Jeffrey Epstein was expert in. And if you see, one of the results is that the daughter of present Chinese President Xi Jinping has studied in United States, psychology in Harvard. So this is indoctrination. So which started maybe with Jesuits, Matteo Ricci in 17th century, establishing cooperation, trying to propose some combination of Confucianism and Bible to the Chinese, and obviously from those times, and then now in the recent years, the engineering of Jeffrey Epstein, the Epstein class, has had a very, very strong impact also on the Chinese networks of power. So this is global, this is international. And understanding the conflict between United States and China. Well, one thing I have to add, because it's very logical and for all of us to see, and nobody is saying this, the strength of China was built by American technology, and the process was initiated by the global coordinators like Henry Kissinger and Herman Kahn and John Galbraith. These triad was the real, they were the real architects of the world, and then Brzezinski and so on. And what happened was the industrialization of United States, which could not have been performed by the Chinese. Chinese were playing their part, and Jeffrey Epstein was the one who was very much involved in what? In this process, which gave Chinese the technology, they gave them the market, they gave them just enough money to develop, and they absorbed their free money to be invested in American bonds. So perfect idea. And now America is being destroyed. United States of America are being destroyed, and people are blaming Chinese. But the Chinese people are not to be blamed. Their elite has been playing their part, just like Russian elite was playing their part. And Putin was very open about it in his discussion, in his interview with Tucker Carlson. He said, we are all bourgeois. We are all the same. Russia and China and their leaders, they would like to be members of the club. That's why now also one of the indicators is World Health Organization now trying to play again the game with hantavirus, the COVID-19 number 2. And now, of course, America has exited United States of America out of World Health Organization. Russia has stayed in, but the leading role has been taken over by China. China is playing together with the corporations of Bill Gates and so on, are playing the leading role in this vaccination war against the population of the world. So it's all global. And we have to, we really should abandon understanding this level of Mearsheimer's perception of the world, of this interests of national states and so on. This is all past. This is all partial. This is not enough. We have to see it within the framework of the global strategies.
There are not too many of us that are interested in going further in this discussion. In fact, most American analysts, commentators would never go here for a number of reasons. And you and I have been, I would describe it as, at least myself, not as direct as you, but I've been kind of hedging around it. But I have to admit that my basic belief for thousands of years, there have been, I hate to call them elite, but they're global power brokers. They're global financiers. They're global bankers. Blush, I even take it back to the Vatican, to the Genoese, to the Venetians, these very ancient countries and families who have basically, throughout the centuries, intermarried and propagated the ideas that we're talking about. The desire to control everything that happens on this planet. And we've seen it over the centuries where, for example, the Venetians and the Genoese, they came to Crimea. They settled here in the 15th century, the 14th century. They built fortresses. They built ports. They were trading here. And they had an enormous control over local customs and power and politics. And there are some people who talk about the royal bloodlines, the kings and queens in Europe, in China. You know, they're imperial dynasties. They claim that these are all connected. And I tend to agree, as I try to understand it, that it is these global power. I hate to call them elite. I don't think they're elite at all, in the sense that they're better than us, but global power brokers. You and I have been, I've been hedging around this for the last few years until tonight when I'm coming right out and saying it. People may think that I'm crazy, tracing it back to 2,000 years ago or more, tracing it back to the Vatican. You mentioned the Jesuits, the secret societies, the Freemasons, the Club of Rome, the Atlantic Council. Would you agree that these are all part of this global power structure that have nothing to do with national sovereignty, with the interest of the real people in countries around the world? I don't know. Do you take it from there?
Yeah, I have analyzed in several rounds these questions which you are raising now, and I came to realize some things which are also now being, I think, quite professionally explained also by people who, like Professor Chang or Zhang. Well, I have mixed opinion. He's a kind of a project. I'm aware of that, but some of his explanations and analysis is very valid, and I must say also compatible with what I have been coming to when analyzing what has been happening with this control of the world things, as you have opened the discussion. Now, let me very shortly offer my view on these things. I am a person who likes to be connected to real world, the world where we breathe, we drink water, we have to eat to survive. And so I like to connect philosophical thinking to the concrete conditions of our lives. And when I when I see the main development of the world throughout last 2,000 years, this is what is important for us. I mean, there is a history of humanity going back, recorded history with concrete documents from some 3,300 before Common Era. But really relevant are the last 2,000 years, what has been going on. And one thing is here which stands out. This is that this European philosophy, whatever it was, proved itself to be the strongest. It destroyed all other concepts in the world, because there were many all over the world, but the European empire prevailed. And there was one constant thing in this empire, because kings changed, kingdoms changed, empires changed, but the center, the philosophical, conceptual center remained the same throughout last 1,700 years. It went from Portugal to Spain to Netherlands to Germany to Britain above all, and so on, even to Russia and Russian imperial quests in the previous centuries. But nothing without the conceptual center. It is not really the Vatican. It is something which I started to call the Roman Empire doctrine of governance, and it was developed from the transformed concept of Christianity done by Apostle Paul. Paul has taken the Christianity and he transformed it from the religion of the poor and fighting for equality into a doctrine of subordination. It was done then the St. Augustine and so on, the Nicene Council, the Edict of Milan and so on. There were different steps, but transformation of Christianity done by Apostle Paul, and then formalization into a form of a business plan done by Caesar Constantine in Council of Nicaea. It actually it formed a concept of imperial governance which proved to be the strongest in the world. And it was then with the sword and the Bible that the whole world, the Americas and India and so on, was conquered. So we should not be too judgmental about this doctrine. It has brought a lot of progress to the world. But now, if we go back to Aristotle, we should be seeking for a golden median, for some more common sense in governing our societies, because it has gone too far. And of course, if we look back, the development last 1,700 years, they have been full of blood and suffering. And the main power of development was slavery. And the Roman doctrine was genius in transforming the concept of slavery into explaining to the slaves that they will receive freedom and reward by God in eternity. So this concept was actually perpetuating the master-slave concepts, but with the help of spiritual power. So this was actually the main machine of the development of the world during the last 1,700 years. And all the bodies you have mentioned, the Vatican, the Jesuits, the Opus Dei, the Atlantic Networks, and World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, and BIS in Switzerland. And so, yes, these are all very important parts of the network. They sometimes have clashes among themselves. Sometimes they fight. Also, the popes were killed. The kings were killed. There is no mercy in these networks. But the concept prevails. The concept remains the same. And who is ready and able to support this concept gets accepted into 0.01% of this, however we call them. And the rest is treated as a cattle. And of course, the extremes are never good. I'm not trying to say that we should abandon the good things that have been achieved, but I would like to warn that the present controlling powers of the world have gone too far and are planning to go too far in destroying the world. If we continue from the Agenda 2030 into Alex Karp's strategic plan for humanity, this is a complete dystopia. This is, for any common person, it is completely unacceptable. The problem is that the people are not aware of that. And if you start to explain about these things, then you, the messenger, are getting the blame. So it's a very tricky situation, and that's why the prevailing forces are doing just fine. So everybody who's saying they are idiots and they don't know what they are doing, no, they know exactly what they are doing, and they are correcting dynamically. They are correcting things, and they are planning very carefully what to do, and they will kill anybody. Trump can be history tomorrow, or Xi Jinping. It's irrelevant. Yeah, we are at a very critical point of humanity, and the path of survival is going to be a very difficult one. And I have been writing and explaining how I see the turning point, and I don't see it like Turning Point USA. It's another story. It's another trickery. The turning point will be when the national patriotic expert elites will be formed, and when they will have prepared their plans for defense and liberation. But we don't have one such a theme. We have many efforts in the world. Like, for instance, we have these flotilla for Palestine. These are subversive projects. I will be very open. These are subversive projects. Why? Because they do not stem from national programs. They are just projects, and a lot of money is being gathered for this. And then comes Greta Thunberg, and she becomes a hero of Flotilla for Palestine. This is all projects, all propaganda. This is nothing. So yes, protests are positive, provided they are part of a comprehensive national program. If you are just protesting without a comprehensive national program for defense and liberation, you are doing several negative things. First, you are legitimizing the powers that be, because you ask them something. You ask them to change something, or to give you something, or not to give you some, or so on. So you are legitimizing them. It should be clear that powers that be all over the world are not there installed to help us. They are there to help create 15 mini cities, and the world of total control. This is where, so asking them for something is like asking the Nazi camp, this internation camp, concentration camp, negotiating with the management of the concentration camp for what? For better blankets or for different composition of the gas they are going to kill you with. So it's no use asking them. We have to organize and not be limited by the powers that are against us at this particular moment of time. Even as impossible as it seems, this system is unstable. And one of the very important things is we, the people, we should organize ourselves and be able to express what we want. Because even if this system, this is killing us, is going to collapse tomorrow, what are we going to do? Do we think we will be able to survive without electricity, without water, without legal system, without education? Well, at this point of development of human civilization, we are not interested, and we are not able to survive in primitive conditions of life. So we have to take over the power, not to demand from the powers that be the improvements, because they have shown quite clearly what they are planning to do.
Blaz, we're coming up on an hour. All I can say is thank you for that really global overview of what's happening. All I can say is I agree with everything you said. At least you and I need to continue drilling down into many of these things you've talked about, because I think it's very important for people. They can't just get, most of them can't see what we're talking about, this overview of this power structure. They can only see what's happening in their own little world, trying to survive, earn a living, take care of their families. And in the United States and across Europe, that is becoming more and more difficult. In fact, impossible for many. And they keep thinking that changing an election or a politician is going to change anything. They have to understand it's the system and what is really behind the system and who controls it. Yeah. And what you have articulated tonight has been so important, so on the mark. And Blaz, we've let too much time go between the last time we did a show. I think these shows that you and I do, talking about these things, Agenda 2030, Blaz, the next time we do a show, I want to focus on Agenda 2030, Sustainable Development Goals, what they really are, what's behind this, what is this whole green energy, and thinking that carbon dioxide is bad for life on the planet. Carbon dioxide is what the planet needs, as much of it can get. And so, two things I want to say to you. Number one, thank you so much for this conversation tonight. And number two, this is not flattery. I really respect and value the relationship that you and I have developed over the last several years. We have to pick up where we've left off and continue the discussion. Blaz, thank you so much. We're going to do this again real soon, I promise you.
Thank you, Regis, and keep on the good work. I'm following what you do. You are very active. Congratulations. So all the best.